In my case, I'm just writing it down, telling it is resource Azure RM underscore resource underscore group. It's now telling what is the name. Again, this is not the actual name. This is called as an alias name or a local name that you can be using within your templates. So here I can literally give anything. I can say RG, something like this, something that I want to go ahead and call this block out. So I'm telling resource, the identifier, whether it's Azure RM underscore resource underscore group or whether it's Azure RM underscore storage underscore account. What is the identifier out here? And what is the local name? This is not the actual name. This is not the name of the resource that gets created on the Azure portal. This is for you to call your resource anywhere inside your template. We'll talk about that and how do you use this particular name out here. And coming inside the block, these are the open and closed flower brackets out here, inside which I can now start giving the properties like, just do a control space again. Let's say a name. I want to give something called as a name of my resource group. Let's say I'll say this is demo TFRG, demo Terraform RG out here, and then the location is something like East US 2. You can literally go to the documentation, then copy this entire thing out here, back and copy this entire thing as such, and then go ahead change your properties. You can also do that, but in my case, I have just written all my block out here for a resource group. So it's in resource Azure RM underscore resource underscore group, the name of the resource group, and then the local name, and then here I have given the name and also the location. Once it's done, we'll just do a simple format. Okay, it looks like this is formatted. Fine. Let's save, and now I have my entire template out here. So in the form of a main.tf file, which goes ahead and it's simply trying to create a resource group in Azure. That's the only thing it's trying to create out here. So yes, any questions till here? Till here, any questions that I can take?
While creating any resources, we have to write provider first.
Yes, you will have to start with provider first. Provider is only written for the very first time in your template out here. Only one time you can write this out, and then you can go ahead, start writing any number of resources that you have. But you need a provider block. If you don't provide if you don't give a provider block, Terraform will not understand which cloud provider you want to, let's say, go ahead and deploy this out on, and it will, kind of fail out there as such.
Okay.
Yes, any more questions, guys? Anyone, any questions till here? Okay, is the name equivalent to the deployment name of the ARM template? Does the name file name have to be main.tf? File name doesn't really have to be main.tf. You can do anything like resources.tf and etc. Is there any order? When you say order, there is an order. You have to first give your provider block and then the resource block. Is the name equivalent to the deployment name? No, it's not the deployment name of the ARM template. No, not really. It's the local name that you'll be using inside your template out here to call the same resource, which we will look at, but it's not equal to, let's say, the deployment name of the template out there as such. And is there any order? Yes. Good, please.
Like ARM, does the Terraform also support parallelism?
As ARM Terraform also support parallelism? Yes. By default, the declarative syntaxing goes with parallelism out here. So by default, it does, let's say, it does try to create all your resources in parallel if there is no dependency on each other. All right, so let's start deploying the Terraform template again as ARM. I cannot simply go into the portal, say deploy custom template and start creating the template out here or start creating the deployment out here. It will not support. Reason being reason being Azure portal here looks for an ARM template. So I cannot just simply copy my entire Terraforms, come here and put this in and say save. I cannot do that. Simply says, you know what, I need a JSON, you're giving me HCL, I cannot do this. The way you deploy a Terraform template is different. Terraform needs something known as a command line to go ahead and deploy this out. For example, what do I mean by that is this. Let me say Control N. Let me open up something called as PowerShell in the VS Code out here, and I'll start writing some commands. And the very first thing that I want to do is that I now want to go ahead and start logging inside Azure portal. And I want to log into Azure portal using CLI, command line interface. So using PowerShell, I did a login hyphen AZ account. In CLI, you need to do AZ space login. This is as simple as it is. So AZ space login. I'll just go ahead and execute this out. And as an execute, it goes ahead, tells me, okay, fine, log into the Azure portal. And I'll say, yes, this is logged in. And if you look at my terminal in the background, it's saying, okay, fine, logged in to the Azure portal. Okay. It's saying I've logged into the Azure portal out here. Let me do a control C. And it's now telling, okay, fine, you know what, you have logged in here. And I see two different accounts. One thing is, let's say, the Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. The other one is a classes Azure. I mean, I am part of two different subscriptions out here. In order to set the context, I'll say AZ uh, account set hyphen subscription. Again, this is something that you do not have to do probably because I am a part of multiple tenants. So I'm just going ahead and doing the account set out here. And I'll select this particular subscription called Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. And I'll execute this out. So I'm doing an AZ account set. This is like doing set hyphen AZ context in a PowerShell. I'm using CLA right now, so I'm doing, let's say, AZ account set and all that stuff. So this is the first thing that I did. So I went ahead, said that, okay, fine, you know what, it's AZ account set and all that stuff. This is my login. Next thing, I need to now get started with Terraforms. And in order to start with Terraforms, please make sure that you're working in the same folder where your main.tf file is. And now we will start with an initial command called terraform space init init. This is called terraform initialization. Initialization spelling is wrong, but yes, it's still fine. It's initialization out here in Terraform, which simply means that it is downloading a few Azure plugins. Why should it download? Why should you do that? Let's understand that. Let's go to the folder where I have written the Terraform template. So let's go to chunk. Let's say Terraform class 1. I have something called main.tf file, and I'll now run the same command called terraform init inside the folder where I have the main.tf file. So I'll just run this out. Fine. So it's telling terraform is not really recognized out here. So terraform and then init, and this is happening because the environment variable really did not go fine. So let's see environment variables. Edit environment variables once again, and let's see if the path is okay. So terraforms, this is good enough. Let's check this out in the C drive. This is terraforms out here, which is good enough, which is terraforms. This one is okay, and This one is okay too. And the reason that it is not, let's say, going ahead and uh, recognizing it is because my system needs a restart, and I did not really do a restart because I cannot, let's say, break a live session, and that's a reason it's telling this is the path which is not recognized and all that stuff. Let's look at my VM. Let's say PowerShell. Sorry, let's say PowerShell, and say Terraform hyphen hyphen version, and see if this is in there. Yes, this is there. In this is working. Let's see also the local system PowerShell out here. Let's check a couple of things. Some odd reason this is working here and not here. So let me use my PowerShell itself, and let me go into that particular folder where I have my main.tf file. I'll have to figure out why it's not working in a VS Code. Probably it needs a restart. So let me go ahead, do a CD in PowerShell into the folder where I have all these things out here, and I'll start with something called Terraform init init. It's working, and it's now telling initializing the Azure backend. It's telling, you know what, since you are working with Terraform and since the provider is Azure, let me go ahead and download something called as the Azure plugins. Plugins for something called as the Azure portal out here, so that you can use your Terraforms using the Terraforms out here to deploy onto a cloud called Azure. For that, I have just written the Terraform, sorry, the main.tf file in Terraform, and in the main.tf file, I went ahead and I declared what is my provider. Based on this particular provider, the Terraform will now say, you know what, I'm downloading all these things. It will take some time, and after some time, when you come here, you would see a folder called .terraform out here as such, wherein if you go inside, it will have Azure RM and it will have an exe file called Terraform Azure provider out here as such. And let's come back here. Now, if you see, it's telling, you know what, Terraform is done. It's downloaded something known as the template, or it's downloaded something called as the plugin. It's telling I'm downloading all the plugins that are required for someone called as Azure RM. And using these plugins, the Terraform templates are going to talk to your Azure portal. So Terraform init is a one-time step. Very first time you'll have to, let's say, go ahead and do something known as a Terraform init out here. And once you do the init, it will download something called as the Azure plugins out here. Very important for Terraform to go ahead and start talking to the cloud called Azure. This is the first step. The first command that you write is the Terraform init, and before that you will have to do the AZ login. And in case if you have multiple subscriptions, say AZ account set hyphen hyphen subscription, the name of the subscription out here. And after that, the second command is called Terraform space plan. This plan command in Terraform will tell you what are the resources Terraform aims to create. For example, let me run that. I'll say Terraform space plan and say enter. Now, what a plan command in Terraform is going to do is that it's going to go into your Terraform template and it's going to understand what do you want to really create. It's selling the resource block. It's telling, okay, fine. In the resource block, the user now wants to create a resource group. Okay, let me close this. The user now wants to create something known as a resource group out here. With a particular name called demo tfrg with a particular location called east2, and it will now tell that okay fine, let me go into the Azure portal using the above login and talk to the Azure using the Azure plugins, using the Azure files that I let's say downloaded using the Terraform init command. It's now talking to the Azure portal and it's asking the Azure portal a couple of things that, you know what, do you have a resource group with this name in this particular location? Azure portal in return will tell that, you know what, no, I don't. So Terraform plan in return will tell you that okay fine, the Terraform plan will try to create one resource group in that particular region because the user is asking me to create the same thing. That's what the plan is actually going to do, and it will take some time for this plan to, let's say complete. And now if you see, it's now telling Terraform plan. Terraform is used to something it's trying to create, and it's telling it will create this particular resource called demo tfrg in a location called ECS2. And here it is telling the plan here is to create one, change 0, destroy 0. So I'm not destroying anything, not changing anything, just going ahead and creating something out here. And to create an actual resource, we'll have to run a command called terraform space apply. So 3 different commands in Terraform. Terraform init to initialize the backbone or to initialize the backend. Terraform plan to understand what a Terraform template tries to do. And Terraform apply finally to create the resources. And after plan, if you check this out, go to your Azure portal, go to the resource groups. I don't have the demo TFRG. It's a demo RG, sample RG, and etc. I don't have the demo TFRG. It's not created. But if you run something known as Terraform apply and say enter, this application command right now will now go and take your template and then start creating something in Terraform or start creating something in the Azure portal out there as such. This is what Terraform will try to achieve end to end out there for you as such. So Terraform init is just going to initialize the Azure backend so that your local templates in Terraform can start talking to Azure out there. Terraform plan is a planning command. It will tell you what needs to be done, whether a resource needs to be created or what it needs to be done, and etc. Finally, Terraform apply command will help you create the actual resources. So now it's telling Terraform apply command. It's telling here one resource will be added. Are you okay with that? I will say yes. I'll say enter. And now this will start going ahead to the Azure portal and will start creating an actual resource for me. So Terraform application will do the actual resource creation for you, and it will go ahead and deploy the resources for you out there as such. You cannot just take the Terraform template, deploy onto the portal. This is not allowed. You have to come via the command line, and now it's telling okay fine, you know what, the resource group is being created, and took a minute, and it said okay fine, you know what, the resource group right now is applied, it's created, and etc. So let's go back to the Azure portal, refresh this out a couple of times again, because as you all know there will be a little lag in the Azure portal to reflect all these things. And let's wait here. It'll take some time, and now you have something known as a demo tfrg out here. Telling this demo tfrg in a resource group or in a location called east2, and it's telling okay fine, this is the name, this is the subscription, there's no deployments and all that stuff. And I created it using something known as, or using something called as a Terraform templates. I use these three templates out here, or these three commands out here, telling init, plan, and apply. And then when I went ahead, I created something known as a resource group in the portal out there as such. Yes, any questions that I can take till you? Anyone, any questions that I can take till you?
Hi, sir.
Go ahead, please.
The plugin downloaded, is that folder specific, sir? Does it work only on that folder? And
Yes, that's a good question. It only works in that folder, which means that if you are creating a new template, if you want to create a new template of Terraform, you will again need to, let's say, do the initialization out here. So this Terraform plugins, right? They have to be downloaded in a folder where you have the main.tf file, or where you have all your resources files out there as such.
And also, sir, you
Terraform plan
didn't
or
mention
apply.
which file.
Go ahead, please.
You didn't mention which Terraform file should execute. Like, if there are multiple
Exactly. I
Terraform
don't
files,
have
what?
to. Correct. I don't have to. Terraform, even if you have multiple files, Terraform will just look at this particular blocks. It'll just understand where is your resources. Do you have a resource declared? Then I'll take the resources and deploy this out. So I don't have to, let's say, go ahead and mention that, you know what, you need to use my main.tf file. No, I'll just say Terraform apply. I'm running the Terraform apply command in the same folder where I have my main file. So I'll simply say, you know what, okay, fine. I see that you have a main file. I see that you have a resource block. I'll just go and create a resource block for you out there as such. So you don't have to mention what is the file. You just have to, let's say, tell Terraform apply, and yes, Terraform plan and apply will work on Terraform files in the directory at once. Yes, it will work on all the Terraform files in the directory at once. Yes, any more questions here, guys?
If you provide multiple resources like storage account and RG,
hmm
it will
hmm
it will create parallelly or
Storage account and RG
multiple.
again, it will create resources parallelly, provided
Uh,
you do not have a resource dependency. Meaning, let's say if you want to create a storage account, you will need a resource group to be existing further. I mean, you'll need a resource group to be existing prior to creation.
okay.
So first it'll create the resource group, and then it'll create, let's say, the storage account out here. This will be a serial creation. Reason being, you cannot
Mhm.
create them parallelly because you need a resource group, and then you have to provision a storage account inside that particular resource group out there as such.
But we have to give resources before itself in Terraform file.
Yes, you'll have to provide. I mean, you'll have to declare your resources. We'll see that. We'll see how do you create multiple resources and all these things.
Okay.
Today was mostly the introduction on how do you configure, how do you start using Terraform, etc. But from tomorrow, we'll start with actual resources, and then we'll go into variables and then parameters and all these things out here. Yes, any more questions here, guys?
Hi, sir.
Good, please.
You use Azure CLI and directly PowerShell now, sir. No, what's the purpose of installing Azure CLI?
See, I am not using PowerShell. I am using CLI on top of PowerShell. Again, PowerShell command is different. PowerShell modules are different. I did not use the AZ modules, let's say, in PowerShell. I did not say login hyphen AZ account. Rather, I
Azure.
said AZ space login. If I have to do AZ space login, I need an Azure CLI out here. Terraforms won't work with the Azure, or Terraforms won't work with, let's say, the AZ modules. Terraform only works with the CLI module out here. That's the reason I've installed CLI. Again, when I install CLI, I'm not installing a host. This is a host where I'm writing. I'm installing the module. So I'm just using the same host and doing the modules out here. Again, you can even do a CMD out here. You can go to your CMD and say az hyphen hyphen help. Even this will go ahead and return you the same commands out there as such. Okay. Yeah, hyphen hyphen help. Sorry, will return you the same thing out here as such. So yes, uh, I am not installing the host. I'm just installing module, and I'm using a PowerShell as my host to go ahead and, let's say, run all these commands out there for run all the CLA commands out there as such. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Any more questions, here, guys? All right, so we'll continue on this one tomorrow, and in tomorrow's session, we'll see how do you create a storage account and how do you do parallel creations and all these things out. So that's going to be the way forward. Please look at Terraform at a very basic level. The assignment here is that I created a let's say resource group. Try creating a storage account. In just go to your Terraform Azure provider. Just go to Google, say Terraform Azure provider. It will take you to this particular documentation. Look for storage account, and here you have multiple resources. And I want to look for something called as storage, and inside that I want to look for something called storage account out here, and it's giving you the example on how to create a storage account. Please check this out. Let me know what you understand by this, and in tomorrow's session we'll get into the detail of it and see how do you create multiple resources that are Go and Terraforms. Until then, have a good day ahead, guys, and meet you tomorrow. Thank you.